welcome to Corrective Consciousness episode 76, the podcast about our lives and love of pop culture. I am your host of Christmas Past, and this is...
Well, who's the host of Christmas Past? I guess I'm the host of Christmas Present then.
And?
And I'm a host of Christmas,
Yeah, so
perfect.
the implication would be that we're recording this a few days before Christmas, so we're the hosts of Christmas yet to come. But by the time people watch this, we'll be the hosts of Christmas Past.
Yeah,
I suppose so. Yeah.
So
it's a present for me.
Yeah, and it's a present for me because Vice can't be here today. So
You bastard!
Every time.
I do want to talk. I don't know. I don't want to be disgusting, but like I think I told Lotus and I told Vice about it. But like a few weeks ago, I got a flood of chicken pox.
Oh, rough.
Shingles.
That's right. Yeah, you did mention that. Yeah, that's rough because usually chickenpox hits when you're like 5 or 6 years old or something, and then you never see it again. So if you get it when you're older, it's pretty brutal.
So is it true that it's worse if you're older than when you get it when you're younger?
The point is that when the chicken pox is in you, the first time it is just some sort of bad rash.
Yeah, it's like itching like crazy. Yeah.
When it leaves your body, it actually never leaves your body. It settles down in your nerve endings.
Wow.
And so when it flares up, you have blisters and boils that comes up from your nerve endings.
Brutal.
And that is why it hurts like
That
and
sucks.
Lotus has made me a lot of funnies today with like saying, what did you say?
What did I say?
Yeah, shingle bells, I think it was.
Oh, I get it. So this is a setup for a Christmas joke that relates to your horrible illness.
It was cured. Like this was the first time that the actual medication helped a lot. But yeah, and just to top off the Christmas spirit today, our house is nearly burnt down.
Wow.
Great.
That
Sounds more like a Hanukkah thing, a real festival of lights.
It burned for 8 days and 8 crazy nights.
What happened was like at 7 in the morning, I was waking up to like the neighbor lady who lives under us was smashing our ring. Was like, oh no, the house is burning, the house is burning.
Jeez.
And behind her was this massive plume of smoke.
Wow.
What happened was somehow the stovetop of hers busted. It exploded. It was like engulfed in flames.
That's
Thankfully,
ridiculous.
it's turned off now, so hopefully nothing bad comes from it. But it kind of spooked the hell out of us.
No kidding.
To mention, the whole room for days is going to be smelled like smoke.
Yeah.
Well,
along with the stairwell.
If you have to leave all of a sudden, then I guess we'll figure it out.
That's a good excuse if you get bored of the podcast. Whoops, it's on fire again. Bye.
Had worse situations.
What fun it is to run from a one-horse open stove.
A one-horse open flame.
That's better, thank you.
Wreck the holes.
That's why we pay the big bucks to... all right, so that was a more colorful intro than we're used to.
Yes.
Lotus, why don't you get us started with our blander fare for the week?
Yeah, I was gonna say, whoa, shingles and a house burning down. Well, wait until you hear about how I'm continuing to upload Oxenfree, and by the time people hear this podcast, it'll have started to become available to the public. Whoa, I'm like on par with Dracologist right now. It's crazy. Other than that, I've been playing more Yakuza 0, and both Kiryu and Majima have these major side stories where it's kind of like how it was handled in Yakuza 5. Each character has this gigantic arc they can go through, but except for the very first part of it, it's completely optional, but the rewards are insane. Like, when you level up in Yakuza 0, it's no longer putting experience points into a general category. You instead kind of have like a sphere grid, like in Final Fantasy X, and you just choose which node to activate that increases your health or gives you a move or whatever. But some regions of your circle are locked off, and beating parts of these giant side stories unlock them, and completing the side stories unlocks an entirely new fighting style. So Kiryu, for example, gets the style he always has used in Yakuza 1 through 5, because he actually doesn't have that by default in Yakuza 0. And Majima also gets his super style, but I don't know what that is, because you could never play as Majima before, unless you count Dead Souls, but that whole game is guns, so you still couldn't tell what he really fought like in that game. I've completed Kiryu's story, and where you had to basically just keep investing in real estate and beat the 5 billionaires who also have large regions of real estate. So there's that. And Majima...
Is there an Amon who owns a lot of real estate, like a wealthy Amon?
I'm wondering if an Amon's going to play into this, but, like, you meet Amon in Yakuza 1, so I'm guessing no. There is some big super billionaire, but it's just a new character. And in, I was going to say in Yakuza 0, but this is still Yakuza 0. In Majima's story, he has to go against the 5 stars, because Majima's not investing in real estate. He's running a cabaret club. So it's like a big hostess club, and there are 5 other super hostess club owners who want to run you out of town, but no, you're gonna run them out and become the cabaret czar. Yes, czar for real. And so at this point I've beaten 2 of them, 3 to go. I can't wait to run the best damn hostess club in Sotenbori. Yes.
So the picture that in the thumbnail of your video kind of implied that, so like does Majima like host also? Does he like?
No, he's not actually a host. He's the manager. He's the guy who like bows to you when you come in, and then the hostesses talk the gentlemen up who hit up the club, and if you ever need to, first of all, you assign hostesses to particular guests, but also if you ever need to exchange the ashtray or refill ice, like you don't actually have to go through the process. You just press a button, like you'll get beckoned to a table, and the hostess will make a gesture with their hands that signifies one of, I think, like 6 things, and you have to recognize what it is and then just select the correct option and you'll do it. So there's
it's like a really adult version of lemonade stands.
Kind of. So you can get a guest glass, you can get a ladies glass, like I said, refill the ice or change the ashtray, break out a menu, or provide a towel. I believe those are the 6 options. And then there's the matter of assigning hostesses to the guests who are looking for... Yeah.
Oh, for good what reason.
Yes. And then there's also the matter of assigning hostesses to guests based on what traits they prefer. Are they better at talking? Are they better at being energetic? Are they better at discussing like aspects of some particular subject that falls under skill or whatever? So it becomes a mix and match game, and then you have to really, like, it gets kind of confusing when there's 6 people doing things all at once and you have to jump around them based on this sort of almost overhead view. It's more of like a simulator than anything else. It's bizarre, but it's kind of entertaining. With Kiryu, what happens is you just press a button to collect money and that's it. But you have to leave and then wait around for the opportunity to collect again. With Majima, the waiting time occurs as you do the thing. You have 3 minutes, excluding micromanaging you have to do for the club to go through a day or a session or whatever it is. So it's kind of interesting how that works. I don't know who the big super boss is going to be, unless it's just the last of the 5. Because with the 5 billionaires, there was a big super boss beyond them. So maybe the same thing will happen with the Cabaret Club. I don't know. But either way, it's rather entertaining. Once again, I'm grinding the story to a halt, though. I think these are things that you're really supposed to be doing little by little across the game, and like you'll unlock your super ability by the end if you've gone through it all the way. But I'm just getting this done now.
So on the scale of like No More Heroes Scorpion minigame to like to like any fishing minigame, how distracting is this?
Well, it's immensely distracting for me because I want to get it done, so it's a major time sink. But unlike the Scorpion game, it doesn't outright suck to do. That Scorpion game was the worst, and I'm pretty sure Suda51 straight up trolled his audience by bringing it back in No More Heroes 2.
I'm sure that's exactly why it was in No More Heroes 2. It's the only minigame in No More Heroes 2 that doesn't use the 8-bit interface like the other...
Yeah, and it's the only minigame that I think people really complained about. So he's like, here it is again. It's like, no... you run all the way out. Oh, you got stung. Run all the way back to get first aid. It's brutal.
It's just a mini game where you have to collect scorpions and you can get poisons. Don't get stung. There's like nothing fun about it whatsoever.
Yeah, it's really easy to mess up and get stung, and it's such a time sink if you do. Now with Kiryu and Majima things, they're major time sinks, but like you don't mess up and undo everything you just did, unless you're doing a rival battle and you lose. But those are like exactly when those are coming, and you actively choose to do them. Whereas, like, it's not like I'm having a good session at Cabaret and, oh no, I lost all my money or whatever, and it was all for nothing, so that's good at least. And the music's really catchy.
I do want to say that at some point, OldManStompy and I think Lotus as him as well should play Saints Row 3 just to get a little bit of side. It's like Yakuza 0, but a little bit different. Mm-hmm. It's like it, but not.
So yeah, Saints Row 3 is a goofy.
Maybe you should do lap.
This comes up every time, right? I've played the opening of Saints Row 3 and it has like one of my favorite like intros of
yes. And I'm waiting for your part to beat one of the mob bosses.
Yeah,
like
the wrestling one, right?
Yes, I do want to see because the series of events that go through, I really want to see. Want to talk about it with you at some point.
Okay.
I do want to say that I really want to see you two playing co-op that game because you two are going. I want to see how your character, when all like you people look, when like the characters you make.
Oh yeah, there's like a ridiculous number of options. Like you can have all kinds of surreal skin colors in Saint Row 3, all kinds of hair color. Like you have a lot of freedom in the character creator.
Yes, I think I made the old man Joseph Joestar once.
Nice. Oh my god!
Like the episode 3 Joseph Joestar, or the like barely not senile episode 4, like chapter 4 Joseph Joestar.
No, the
probably
big
part
buff
3
old man version.
the Joestar can still do stuff. But otherwise, after Yakuza 0, all I can really talk about is that that Resident Evil 1 comparison video I'm doing. I've finalized about 13 minutes of it. It's so just painstaking to do this. Mm-hmm. I basically have 2 weeks to get it done, and I'm really gonna have to crack down. It's not like, oh, I got up for the first time today and I was like, let me do 13 minutes. Like, this has been over the course of a few days on and off.
I know you've done the Resident Evil 2 comparison video, and I know you've also done like the Silent Hill like references, but like how does it feel compared to your usual fare to do a video that actually requires like editing?
Oh, I know. Like with Let's Plays, editing is really a matter of, oh, I was running around in circles for too long, let's cut this part out. Or or I coughed, let me quickly cut that little part out. But like, this is really like isolating certain clips, putting them over the part that I'm talking about. Like, this isn't where, like, with the Let's Play, I record as I play. So all I have to do is, just like this podcast, I sync the beginning. Like, I sync our voices together for this podcast, and then just let the rest play, because it's not like, unless something weird happens, we don't really desync. With Let's Plays, I play the game and I talk over it, and then when I sync the beginning, I'm like, there, I got my clip. But here, I recorded everything in advance. I have to put the right clip over the right part of my voice. It's such a pain in the ass. And I know there are people who do reviews for a living, like weekly. Mm-hmm. I guess you get used to it eventually, but I'm not there because I almost never do these. So it's like, oh no.
But have you ever done a post-comment? I don't actually. Have you ever done a post-commentary episode of Let's Play? I like...
The closest I can think of is that one episode of Undertale where that almost counts.
Oh, and have you ever done a post-commentary live stream?
Oh, you mean like just a silent live stream and I talk over it later?
That's
the purpose of a live stream.
That's the joke.
Yeah. Oh, but yes. No. But like on my own, I don't believe I've ever done a post-commentary Let's Play.
All right. I know I've mentioned this before, but I watched like the Channel Fireball, which is one of the really big Magic the Gathering websites, and they do a podcast every Wednesday, which starts out as it's really more of a Twitch stream that has a podcast format. And this week's episode, the first like 10 minutes is just like them arguing over like whether or not one of their like co-chairs is coming on Skype or not, and like who they can grab out of the back to sit in the seat, and they just upload that entire thing live to YouTube. So I guess
did they like forget to cut out the beginning, or did they just think it'd be funny?
I think that they got just enough conversation in that first 10 minutes, especially since it was a live stream that everybody saw anyway, that it was not much of a point. But it's comforting to know that even the medium guys, like way bigger than us, occasionally have technical difficulties that can't easily be resolved just by muting a cough.
No, like what always amuses me is like little things like when they mention the meta stuff like that. Like I watch the Continue show on YouTube where it's three guys who play a game together for like 20 minutes and they talk about what they think of it. But before and after the actual gameplay, they're just on the couch talking about their experiences. And sometimes they'll be like, whoa, that was pretty cool. And you know what else would be cool? This. And like one of them will like wave their hand around. Oh, look what's coming in on the screen. Look at that. And like someone might respond to like, there's no way anybody's editing that in. Like it's just, so there's just nothing happening. Like when we watch the video, it's just kind of funny to me.
Right.
Anyway, that's really all I've been doing for this week. That's kind of me. So, how has your week been, Dracologist?
My week has been, well, you heard it at the start. I think it's very self-evident.
Other than,
I had
you gotta, don't bury the lead.
pain
right?
in the side, smoke in the stairwell. Otherwise, quietly working at my work post. I had a little bit of there was a little bit of caroling at the workplace, which is nice.
Cool.
Although, I'm my boss lady's son is the only person next to me who's actually have a singing voice. Everyone else is a little bit. Anyway,
like atonal or something.
Well, you've seen old ladies sing.
Yeah. Everybody tried hard.
Yeah, jingle bell. It's like close enough.
Wow.
I have a nice singing
rare
voice.
footage of Lotus Prince singing.
Oh.
I did it my way.
Oh.
I do pride myself. I have a good singing voice, actually.
Well, that's a nice bass.
Yeah, I was gonna say really good.
Yeah, I can go deeper, ladies. It's very wide.
And if you get a cold, even deeper.
No, if I get a cold, I gotta get sound like this.
Well, like eventually, but there have been some cases where I've gotten a cold and I found that my range like shifts lower. Like if I try going high, then I get cut off. But I just have like a lower range up until that point, though. It's kind of cool.
Anyway, I do want to send my regards out of America. I want to pat everyone on the back on the internet for that git doing what he did. Yes, we're talking about that topic, net neutrality.
Oh, Ajit Pai, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was cool. It's a good thing there's no conflict of interest with the guy who used to work for Verizon setting up this anti-net neutrality thing.
Yeah.
The undeniable solution of a rampaging wanker.
I mean, there is a silver lining to this. Apparently, I mean, not for the actual situation, but at least it seems that multiple states are passing legislation, like just on an individual state level, that internet service providers had better remain neutral within their state, or else they won't be doing business there. So if the country can't deliver, then at least maybe your state can, that kind of thing.
That's a true statement, but like that, these sorts of things only are as powerful as they stand up in court. So like what will probably happen is that the major ISPs will still continue to like squeeze out like smaller like venture companies who can't afford to pay for these fast channels that they're probably planning on marketing in the near future once this gets codified into law. And I think it's a few weeks before.
Well, one thing I'm curious about though is that I don't remember if it was just suggested or if it was actually official, but I thought that it was at least put out there in 2015 that the internet should be considered a utility, in which case squeezing it would be like antithetical to how the system works.
That was part of the classification that was rolled back by the actions taken by the FCC last week.
Okay.
Like my reaction was,
that's a dick move, because that just kills college students. Not to mention anybody looking for a job.
Well, a lot of so I know this because I used to work for the physics department at Rutgers. That a lot of universities, their internet backbone is actually determined by money from like the National Science Foundation that pours into the university for physics departments, because physics used to be like the big driver of big data, like in the 90s. You remember that's like the CERN is the inventor of the World Wide Web protocol for that reason. The idea that they had these like terabyte data sets, which was tremendous at the time, They needed to pass it from university to university. So a lot of universities have this Ethernet backbone as a result of the need to process physics data sets. And an ancillary benefit is that the students can use it.
Well, yeah. So it's an ancillary benefit that the students can use it, but like, yeah, like at this point though, online interactions have become so integrated. Like everything is done by email, and again, as far as applying for jobs, like you used to be able to just walk right into a business, like, "Hello, sir, I'd like to apply for a job." But like, if you were to try that today, they'd be like, "Well, do it online. We have a form for that." You know, like it's everything is so reliant on the internet that squeezing it is just like going to be a disaster.
Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of things that require a Facebook account, things that require a LinkedIn account. Like, you're right.
Yeah.
My reaction was that, like, oh, there, I can already hear the DDoS engines revving up.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
Oh, yeah, of course. That too.
Otherwise, yeah, any other things going on?
I can talk about a little bit of a game I recently acquired called Nelo.
Sure.
I don't know how I can properly pronounce it so it can come out. Nelo. I think that I can pronounce it that way so it can be...
Yeah, you mentioned it was the
eligible.
Italian word for black, so I guess it would be Nelo.
Yes. It's an interesting little bit. Like, at first I found it on... what was it? Greenlight, I think. Steam Greenlight.
Sure.
And it's one of those things that when you like was Scorn, like I mentioned, like you shuffling through this like MS Paint level of graphics of games, and like, look at me, I'm making political jokes and poop jokes and all kind of silly game related jokes, and all the game is like two dots bouncing at each other. And then you find games like that, like looks actually work put into them, and then you like find games that looks like AAA. Like this one looked gorgeous. Like they had like the version 000.0.00.1. Like it's a very and it still looked amazing.
Nice.
And the game is basically revolves around this. Like the main character name is Nelo, and he is some sort of alien cyborg dude who is in battle with sort of like it's a little bit of a Skynet story of as if they created some sort of machine turned against them, and now they basically busy beating them out of areas they don't want. And the gameplay itself is a third-person shooter that switches between hack and like sort of this button mash hack and slash games like a brawler or a spectacle fighter, as well as it can basically turn the third-person shooter into a top-down shooter, a twin stick.
Okay.
Like basically, it's when a contextual what do you call it? Contextual text appears, you can use the aim button to switch to a top-down view and just basically geometry wars yourself way to victory.
Yeah, I'm looking at the trailer now. It's kind of reminiscent of Nier Automata, actually, in terms of like the way it looks like and like how it plays.
Yes, only it was before Nier Automata, believe it or not.
Oh really? Okay.
Yep, way before.
Huh.
It's like it was in like 3 years of development so far.
All right.
And what the game is remarkable is that it is incredibly fast. Like so far, like when like your character has a walking speed with already a fast jog, very fast running speed, like Metal Gear Revengeance levels of running, and then there is the dashing speed, which is like taking off like a fucking jet.
Yeah, I can see.
Pretty amazing, and like you can pretty much like switch between melee combat and shooting combat very quickly. Though I do want to say that it still has a little bit of a bump that needs to be smoothed out, mostly in the enemies department. Like enemies right now are somewhat reminiscent of all the NAS enemies. They just come at you, they constantly fire at you, and they do not have any kind of how to say reactions. Like when you punch them, they don't recoil, they don't stagger down, they don't try to dodge your attacks. They're just constantly trying to come at you like a friendly dog with a chainsaw attached to its head. And also the HUD is a little bit well, I really wish they would pick a little bit of a brighter color patterns and different colors for like, because there is two large bar on the HUD. One is the stamina, one is the health, and you really have to remember which is which.
Okay.
Yes.
And how close is this game to being done, you think, before they release version 1.0? I know people are a little like, even though the game like looks pretty polished and it looks like for $20 you can have a lot of fun playing it. Like how close do you think this game is being done? People tend to be a bit skittish about buying early access games.
I generally like to support these sort of things, but I think there is plenty of work to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like making each enemy have their own attack animation, coding all those artificial intelligence and behavior patterns that makes the game more better at this. Like you want, like when you words help. So when you playing a game like Metal Gear Revengeance, Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, or anything, you can see how enemies are not always just constantly coming and attacking you. They jump around you. They doing little taunting moves and stuff like that. And they really have to add these into the things. They have to also, I would say, go a little bit different with the color scheme, because as much I like turquoise and dark colors, I think that constantly having that only two color in the pattern is a little bit monotonous. Like it feels, I know they tried to set up a color theme for the game, but seeing it on everywhere is a little bit too much.
Right. So like usually turquoise is used as a contrast to some kind of orange color, like some hot color.
Yes, well, the enemies are bright red, and you are sort of this cyan turquoise color.
Okay.
So it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's worth a look. It's worth a look. It's worth a play. It's hopefully going to. I need to post some sort of like to develop. You can, there are Steam discussions where you can Steam your thoughts. You can put your thoughts up, and you can. I'm going to compile a little bit of like sort of this mini review about it, like what I think should be done.
Awesome.
It's a pretty good game for us, like from like basically coming from nowhere and nothing.
Yeah, it reminds me of a little bit. At least the shooter part reminds me of Astabreed as a Steam game. I think. Like that's another game that totally came out of nowhere. Not that their developer was unknown. I think it was just a game that was picked up from some Japanese developer and put onto Steam. But like that game was beautiful for how little it cost to buy on Steam.
Is that Mac shoot 'em up game, right?
I think so. Yeah. Yes.
I know. I think yes, I know that game.
Right. So yeah, like I'm excited. I appreciate you coming on here and talking about it, because like you said, the early access games on Steam are a real mixed bag, most of which like look like they're made by one or two people and are largely asset flips or like low quality.
It's not the number of people who make it. Like just remember that Axiom Verge and Dust Elysian Tale was made by one guy.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Dust Elysian Tale took like 9 years to make. It was definitely a labor of love. I heard it was 9. Maybe it was 4, like actively the final version of the game. But it was in development for a long time.
Yeah, that game is pretty sweet. Like that's great. Like applause for that guy.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of Axiom Verge, actually, like sort of this little video that has come to 2 things about it. Like there is a little DLC coming out, like how the game was made, and this, how do you call it, developer commentary.
Nice.
Available soon in Steam. And also that there was that news that the publisher who published the game, that published Axiom Verge, is raising money for the developer's kid, who's some sort of disability or some sort of disease that they want to treat.
Awesome.
That's cool.
That's nice. So that's nice.
And it's a great game, so you should support it anyway.
Yeah, it's freaking awesome.
It's one of the most unique Metroidvanias. I think I forget which reviewer stated this, but they said that it had like interesting puzzle pieces to fit in like Metroid-shaped holes. That like you approach something that looks like for example, there look like morph ball holes, and you think, oh, I'm gonna get a morph ball. Like this guy doesn't have a suit like Samus. How am I gonna use a morph ball? And the thing that you get is like nothing like the morph ball whatsoever.
Yeah, I think I do want to say that I really wish that you would use the address Disruptor a little bit more in varied ways, because there would have been a few more ways I think that could have been used.
Oh, sure. Like the idea is really interesting that you can inflict like bugs in the game, but it doesn't really.
It's not bugs in the
well
game,
in the
but,
universe.
Basically, rewriting, alternating the basically quantum mechanics of the area.
Right.
You're rewriting the axiom.
Oh, sure.
What else? Should we talk about like games ideas and yes, if we can, or should we move on?
No, we can. Why don't you pitch an idea and then like Lotus and I will we'll try to come up with our own.
Well, there was once like some sort of gaming idea convention, like let's make a absolutely random game and like games that doesn't fit together too well. And someone was like Egyptic theme, shoot 'em up, real-time strategy, and like that's milk toast. That you can do in few seconds. And my thoughts were like horror, racing game, turn-based.
Nice.
Have fun.
Huh.
So like
you have to use a car race,
like genre roulette, yeah.
And like stuff like this always is fun to me because like you can always have interesting concepts come up like this. And I was thinking about like how do you would make this, like where would you put the turn based, where do you put the race, would you mix the two, would you make the racing game like the old Windows game Racetrack, where you have to move the car with like this 3x3 pattern.
Right. Yeah, so like the part of the idea is that there's like this like strong tension between like a horror game where your movement is really deliberate and like a racing game where you're supposed to, I mean the goal is just to go as fast as possible. They tend not to be very deliberate. And in fact, people tend to hate like racing, like even a Sonic game where you have to move very deliberately. People tend to feel like really frustrated by that kind of game experience, like some of the DS Sonic games. So like an idea where it's almost like playing like red light, green light to play a horror turn-based like racing game, right? You'd have to like really manage the change of pace really well. Lotus, what do you think?
Much, yeah.
I think like what I've thought would be a mixture of two other horror games. One is Consuming Shadows, where you are on the clock. And the other game would be what was that? Dead End Road, which was actually a sort of this slightly roguelite-ish car game where you would have to drive through a town with increasing amount of so-called sanity effects slowly affecting your player.
Interesting.
And it was fun because like you would like have sanity effects like the baby stroller suddenly rolling into front of your car. A car truck, like a truck behind opening, and suddenly you can like see body bags inside it, and there's stuff like that.
So
it's creepy stuff like happening.
So I can think of like Nanashi no Game or something like that, where you play like a horror game interspersed with a turn-based RPG, and that gets you like two out of 3.
Oh, was that the DS game?
Yeah, that's the DS game. That's like The Ring, but a DS game.
Yeah, that thing looked crazy.
So then you just need to have a racing minigame in there somewhere.
Perfect. Well, the closest thing I could think of to racing minigame would be something like Silent Hill Shattered Memories, where all of a sudden it's like, quick, get to point B, go, 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 like no time to think about anything.
Yeah, that would do it, like a pursuit minigame.
Actually, if you want to car game and car locomotion, and don't look no further than Alone in the Dark, one of the latest Alone in the Dark games.
Nice.
Where you had to race around and set fire blaze to demonic poles or something.
Whoa.
Oh, was that the new one on Steam that was like garbage?
No. That was cheap Left 4 Dead knockoff.
Okay.
That nobody liked.
So like what is
So, yeah.
like racing in general is such a like hermetic genre that it's hard to imagine a lot of other, like I can think of like the Churro Q games, which are RPGs that also have a racing element to it, but otherwise like you can't, it's hard to mix, or like Jack X, I guess, which is an adventure game that got mixed with a
Jack X, like Jack and Daxter, Jack X Racing.
Yeah.
I forgot about that one.
Like it's hard to meld. Like usually they're mascot racers if they're merged with another genre. It's
like Sega All Stars Racing or something.
Yeah, or Mario Kart, right?
Yeah.
Or this is a Sonic,
like
it's a Crash one, Crash Team Racing.
Yep.
Like none of them, all of them feature characters from platformers or from other major franchises, but none of them actually have them doing that thing in the racing game.
That's true. Yeah,
Like you don't
racing,
you don't have
just
you don't have to platform to get into your car in Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
That would be silly.
I would imagine a horror element in a racing game, like just. I think there was a.
Like Twisted Metal, where the cars are scary.
No, that Twisted Metal was more like Unreal Tournament with cars. I don't think that it was more like black comedy at best.
Yeah.
But one of the games, like what was it called? I'd only seen the trailers. It was, I think, called Night Shift, which was you basically had this, you were driving around this very old school Atari, almost old school Atari, like wasn't Atari. Anyway, old school 3D environment, and everything was, the world existed only around to your headlights, I think.
Well, there's also like Deadly Premonition, which is a horror game where you can drive a car, and that's like
that's true.
Yes, but it's just on the same level of what I mentioned about what I wanted to say.
Sure.
Alone in the Dark.
Oh yeah.
But like, I would imagine like racing a car and like imagine like this wall of darkness enveloping everything behind you, and you really don't want to get lagged behind.
Yeah. So,
but
the other thing I thought was like Halo and Halo 3 at the end, where you have to escape the exploding Halo and you're with
I wouldn't say that. That's a whole timer thing.
Yeah, but it's the same concept as a racing game. You have a track and you have a car, and you have to beat the time while you're like.
No, it's more like having a bomb, but it's more like Speed, the movie. Like you have 10 seconds to get here.
Sure.
Thanks.
Like how is that?
But
how is it
you're not racing
like,
against somebody, but you're racing against the clock. It's time trial then.
No, but when you have something behind you, it's more like having a inevitable force. Is it just?
Okay, so the otherworld segments of Silent Hill Downpour, or that one part of Silent Hill 3, where there's the red mist chasing you. That was creepy as hell, because it was never explained, and it comes up like very late game out of nowhere.
It was a little bit. I think there's a problem with that there was that black hole effect that was kind of too obvious for that.
In Downpour, that was kind of annoying, yes, but in Silent Hill 3, it was just this red mist, and you're like, what?
Also, I'd never understand why in Downpour you have this force of nature, something chasing you, and the main character is like putting effort into pulling down those cages or what.
Yeah, that was the dumbest thing. That was a Shattered Memories nod.
What?
Yeah, in Shattered Memories, you have creatures chasing you, so you're like, and you're like pulling down shelves so they'll stumble over them and slow down, but like, you can do that to the mist in Downpour? like what? So I'm just throwing down like shelves. I'm like, this what? That made no sense at all.
Well, obviously it made perfect sense to somebody. Like maybe there's
something
in the
mysterious
mist.
force had to climb over the shelves. It was like, geez, now I got this in front of me. All right.
Anyways,
yeah.
I would imagine like an open world, like if anyone remembers Midtown Madness.
I've heard the name, but that's about it.
It was like basically they rendered the entirety of Chicago as a city. And you could race around it with various, basically simple civil cars.
Oh, nice.
And I would imagine it's similar, like open world games like Grand Theft Auto and Saints Row and Carmageddon.
Well, it kind of makes me think of Burnout Paradise.
Sort of like that. And imagine like having this jar, like this large fog moving from area to area, occasionally chasing you, and you have to race other racers to find, I don't know, rooms or something that you have to undo a ritual to stop the elder gods to eating your world, i.e. I keep forgetting the Consuming Shadows.
Okay.
Which is a Yahtzee game, actually. I really want to see someone else playing it.
Nice. The list is getting quite long. I need like a Dracologist backlog just of the games that you've recommended that I haven't played yet, in addition to my regular backlog. Which is also
I was going to say, in addition to Sons of Triskelion.
Sons of Triskelion, the greatest RPG I'll never finish.
Move over, Midtown Madness. We're playing Sons of Triskelion today.
Like Hollow Knight. More like, no thank you, Hollow Knight.
More like also Sons of Triskelion.
Did you even dip toes in that game?
Yeah, I have not. I have installed it on my laptop, and that is the extent of my Hollow Knight experience. And I watched my sister-in-law play it. And it deserves a better gamer than me.
It's a good Souls-like game. Although I think it has its little bit of a few more parts that I wish they didn't. Contact damage is not something they should have been gone with.
All right. Well, I have not played Hollow Knight, but I think now is a good time for me to talk about what I have been playing over the course of the last, 5 days. How about that segue?
Hey.
Yeah.
That's why you're the host.
So if there's anything like last week, I'm going to get that awesome segue. I'm just going to sit here silently for 15 seconds until I realize I'm supposed to be talking.
Yes.
Unless Vice edited that part out last week.
Sure.
Anyway, so for me, the first thing I like to discuss is, I made this whole big deal about how I never get to play the games I want. I'm just playing Final Fantasy XIV all the time. But then I realized that these days, like, despite trying to maintain like hardcore gamer cred, you know, as a true Doom murderhead, like 90% of my gaming time, even if I'm not like playing Sons of Triskelion, the epic saga,
At least you're not playing, what was that game called?
Dark Savior?
Arcane Race.
Yeah, I'm playing...
No, Arcane Race, which is another cheap shit RPG Maker Steam game.
Well, I own a lot of cheap RPG Maker Steam games. Not that I picked them up intentionally, but...
Please don't.
So I might
place.
have that game. I mean, I can always hide them from my collection, but I bought like a little package, and and but I have also not been playing that. That game does not sound recognizable to me at all. It'll just be a surprise that it's in my Steam library, just like when I bought the QuakeCon pack a long time ago and I found out I had Skyrim without really trying to buy it. No, seriously, like I think one of the first QuakeCons, or at least around the same time Steam came out, right after Skyrim, they sold like every Bethesda and id game as a package for $90. I was like, that sounds like a good deal. I'll get all the Doom games, and it sounds like a good deal for $90. I don't know how much. I didn't know how much games were worth on Steam. That was literally like the first time I bought anything besides the orange box on Steam. So I bought the package, and I was like, oh god, I have Skyrim now. Like, so yeah, there's a lot of things I wound up with in my Steam library. So remind me again what the name of that game was, while I open up my Steam library.
Arcane Race.
I do not have a game called Arcane Race.
But you do have Sons of Triskelion.
I do have Sons of Triskelion.
Arcane Race is just a word. Is basically an impossible to beat game because the main boss is so fucking difficult. They deliberately made it, and they selling overpowered characters as DLC.
So it's like Tricky Treat.
Well, yes. Well, actually, they're not overpowered. They just powered.
Okay, regularly powered.
They not. Yes, you can beat the game even with those.
Okay,
and it's asset flip all the way.
My favorite kind of game.
Please
no,
don't.
actually, don't buy asset flip games. Don't make things worse. Dracologist will
really.
cry. Why do we even have you on here if we're just gonna tell people to buy shitty asset flip games? Yeah, don't make him make that sound. It's not pleasant.
Yeah, go back to greenlighting games that are actually good that we won't play, Dracologist.
Yeah, that would be a little bit difficult considering Greenlight is gone.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well,
it's not. They opened the floodgates and now it just is a shit show after shit show.
So speaking of shit shows, I've been playing Pokemon Go again lately.
Hey.
Yeah, so like they released the 3rd generation, and so I have people who I know at work who have seen me playing the game who react exactly the same way Lotus does, which is like, what the hell is Generation 3? There are only 151 Pokemon. I dare you to tell me otherwise, right?
well, wouldn't they have said there are only 251 at this point?
Well, no.
I don't know. I do enjoy the little buggers, but I think that, like, again, there's some point when the game becomes more about numbers and less about cute little mythical creatures.
But that's my favorite kind of game, when it's all about the numbers. I used to play Maple.
It's a technical kind of game, the best kind.
I wonder which generation will be when every monster you can find only will be Bidoof.
I mean, that's what Pokemon Go is like, I'm sure, when that generation comes out, because right now it's just Pidgey.
Oh.
Yes.
So, like, it helps a lot to live in New York City, because that's like a big hotspot. So, you know, they've introduced raids where you can get together with your friends and fight the legendary Pokemon and catch them. And, like, New York City is one of the only places where, like, a whole group consistently can be found whenever they release, like, a new high-tier, like, Pokemon. So, like, we had Groudon, one of the legendaries from Generation 3, come out a few days ago, and it's pretty easy, to go to like the raid spots and there's usually like 10, 11 people there. So it's easy to get carried to be able to catch one too. On top of that, which is nice, and not like a place a lot of the country or the world like has to their advantage. So I feel like if I didn't live here, I probably wouldn't still be playing the game. But like we're out here in not really cold weather, but like 20s and 30s, and like I don't have capacitive gloves, so I'm like trying to use my fingers while they're freezing to like throw Pokeballs, and it's like I gotta get them. Like I never know.
I gotta catch them.
I gotta catch them all. I need to catch them all.
I just realized something, that if you have this telephone mobile and the generation comes out that has the Joltik. And like you catch one, and it ate all your battery life.
Yeah, I mean, Pokemon Go does that anyway. So every time someone develops a tracker that allows you to like monitor the location of like Pokemon spawns in your area, like Niantic goes back and obfuscates the code more, which makes it just run even shittier on mobile devices and drain more battery life and just become more difficult. So you can thank the extremely user-friendly developers at Niantic for basically making the entire game a Joltik or a Galvantula.
Galvantulas don't eat electricity, but they bioseed that they actually able to generate their own electric field. So.
Oh.
But Joltiks are just plain cute. I think.
Yeah, I mean they're adorable. Yeah.
It's like this little yellow bore of mischief.
Mm. So that's a lot. That was what I was doing up until like an hour before the podcast. They just released the Christmas event, which means there's a bunch of like Pikachus and Santa hats. That's like Nintendo's favorite thing to do, is to put a hat on Pikachu and market it like it's a new Pokemon. It's literally the Malibu Stacy thing all over again.
Yeah, like every alternate Pikachu costume in Smash Brothers is just hats.
Yep, just hats. Oh, same thing with Jigglypuff, right? They're just hats and like other headwear.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, I've been playing that. Otherwise, at my work, I remember I mentioned a few months ago that we do a hackathon, where we go to like underserved schools in New York City, and we teach kids how to code. And at the end, they develop their own app using this App Inventor. It's like a piece of software that MIT released, where you can make like really simple Android apps with block programming instead of like actual like line by line a Python or Ruby or whatever your preferred app language is. And
Slave.
Yeah, thanks. So
that's for rod editing, not phone app creating.
Okay, so I wouldn't have used it anyway. So
it's fun actually.
So the kids that I had, they had this app they play called Color Switch. It's just some some collect the stars mobile game. I never even downloaded it. It's just one of those things where you like hold the screen down and you have a ball that goes up through obstacles like Frogger, and you can like collect stars. So they tried to recreate it, and they only had like 5 hours to do this. So like the closest that we got was, it was hard enough just to like make like moving platforms that respawn on the other side of the screen when they hit the right hand side, and like having the like stars that you can collect that despawn and respawn as you collect each other. But we managed to do it in only 5 hours, and I was really impressed. And it turns out that the kids that I taught, they won the competition at the end of the year. So I was pretty excited about that. I was pretty happy for them, because like, you know, doing like if you're a kid, like these kids, they like the idea of programming a lot, but it's thank you for the applause, by the way, down in front. For those of you who
I didn't want to be very loud.
No, it's fine. So like these kids, they do this as an after school club, and after they've already like spent 8 hours in class like learning stuff, and none of them want to go home after they finish, even though you could technically sign into your Google account that's tied to your Gmail and like work on the app when you're at home. None of them ever want to do that, because they've just gone through like 10 hours of schooling. They just want to go home and be kids, which is perfectly fine. So like a lot of them by the end, like they were getting stressed out like a real like real coders do, like I do when I'm at work. And I'm happy to see the payoff at the end, where so as part of the program, all the kids, they get the Chromebooks that we use to program. They were really surprised to get like free Chromebooks basically, and nice. Free like cheap little tablets to load their games on. So it was really rewarding for all of us. I want to say that there was no real competition, and not just because, although there was a competition, but there wasn't really, because I knew my kids were going to win.
The real prize was the journey and the friends we made along the way.
Yep.
That's a good prize.
Yeah,
too.
It was a pretty good prize. And also they served us some snacks and food at the final presentation.
Hey.
So that was exciting, and I'm looking forward to doing it.
Sounds like it was also a snackathon.
Yes, it was a snackathon. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Lotus. That's why we pay you the medium bucks. You'll be down to the small bucks by the time this podcast is over.
Yes, exactly.
We'll be fired from your own channel.
Oh.
Otherwise,
Can you do that?
I can do whatever I want. He doesn't have to stop making videos. Like I can tell him he's fired, but like I have no legal power over his channel.
All right, Stompy,
Like
fly.
literally go to his house and just like sit in front of his laptop and be like, "You're banned. Stop."
Yeah, you can't fire me, old man Stompy. I quit. Wait a second.
He walks out of his own house.
Yeah, haha.
Then I have to leave because I have to go home.
Yes. And then I have to go back because I have to go home.
So yeah, that's largely all I've been doing for the last 3 days. So the end of the closing ceremony was on Tuesday, and then most of the rest of the week was just like crunch time for work before the Christmas break. Like I personally am not taking very much time off because I just went on the same Japan trip and used up basically all of my vacation days.
Oh, the same Japan trip that OldManStompy went on?
Yeah, the same Japan trip that OldManStompy and
Wow.
Mr. Ryu went on.
Whoa.
With Minty Mitts, starring Vice the Bold. Yes, that Japan trip. So so that was my week. I think we have time for plenty of questions, or
I think we could do 2 because one of them I think will be on the quick side.
plenty of questions.
Plenty of 2 of them. Now, so we had gotten a question before a while back that was asking where our usernames originated from. So Vice, OldManStompy, and I think Pyro answered that. But someone in the comment section came up and asked, because Dracologist, you're, becoming a repeat guest on the podcast. Where did your username come from?
It's a self-made something. It basically means the Dragon Doctor.
Oh yeah, ologist, like podiatrist.
Someone who studies and heals the dragons. I have a soft spot for the little flying, flame-breathing little buggers.
Nice. So Draco for dragon, of course, and then ologist. Nice. I actually thought it would have been primarily like the study of, like I'm a biologist or whatever, but I guess it still falls into that.
Study and well, the healing is because I like them.
Sure.
But yeah, it's study and stuff.
Okay. Now.
And it's just short. Often people call me Draco or just DRC.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so next question then is from Lazrul, and this is something that, it's weird. The question isn't funny, but the fact that it exists is hilarious. So Lazrul asks, what do you think about Sonic getting captured and then waterboarded for months in Sonic Forces? Now, I don't know, before we go into this, have you guys heard about this?
Yes, when the game starts, they go, oh no, they captured and tortured him.
Yeah, so here's the thing.
He's alright.
Yeah, because here's the thing, because Lazarus usually asks kind of offbeat or sometimes silly questions, and this one, Sonic getting waterboarded, that question is 90% not a joke. Mm-hmm. They don't mention waterboarding, but yeah, as Dracologist said, in Sonic Forces, you play as Sonic for a level or 2, and then in a cutscene, a bunch of bad guys take him down, and they're like, haha, and then it shows 6 months later, and it's just a bunch of the other Sonic characters who are working on the Resistance, because Robotnik basically took over the world, in the Saturday morning cartoon for the 90s, and they really, really think that Sonic just was killed. And then someone comes in and they're like, hey, it turns out Sonic wasn't killed. He's actually alive. And they're like, what? That's awesome. And it's well, yeah, but they've been holding him in a facility and torturing him for months. So I'm like, what? Just straight up. And the thing is, Lazarus, again, like I said, often asks silly questions, but this one was serious to the point where, on Twitter, he linked me to a screenshot of that conversation. He's like, no, this is for real. So, and when you finally do play as Sonic again, you see him in a cutscene, he looks no worse for the wear, and he's still making wisecracks and everything, so it's okay, I guess. They didn't even have to be 6 months. They could have just said the next day and not even mentioned the torture. There would have been no difference. It was just a really weird decision on the writer's part, I think.
So, they had to torture Sonic twice, right? Because the first time it just made him lose all his rings.
That's right. They poked him, he lost some rings. I think he picked up 2 or 3. They're like, damn it, made him lose the other 2 or 3 rings. Then they could actually torture him for real. But like it's just so like what a weird direction to take. Like when you played Sonic the Hedgehog on the Sega Genesis, did you ever think there would be a time where it's like they've been torturing Sonic for months? It's like, goddamn.
First off, I do want to say, is this some sort of dark fantasy Lazrul is having?
Yeah, that's the funny thing though. It isn't. Like he was like, no, look, here's the context. Like, what do you think of this?
Second off, I think it's like we're talking about Dr. Ivo Robotnik, so what his best way of torture is possibly just him singing songs to him on his crooning.
It probably is. The writing in that game's corny as shit. Like, there's actually a part where Robotnik directly calls Sonic like his frenemy. I'm like, all right, like, can we not? It was.
They do have a sort of Batman Joker sort
no,
of
they do, but frenemy? Like, what are you in high school? Get out of here!
I mean, he was a friend of the team in Sonic Chronicles, I think, right?
Oh, was he?
Yeah, well, just so that you could play as him in his characters, or like he could be allied.
I mean,
with you.
he was in Sonic Adventure. He did have a grudging alliance in Sonic Adventure, because he had to deal with.
But the twist was
Shadow.
that you found out at the end that he was using that as a cover while you're away, like beating the boss of that game. He like takes over the world, and in principle, that was going to be the plot of a Sonic Chronicles 2 that never got made.
Oh. That's a decent idea, actually. Because, like, the way they've established Sonic and Robotnik's relationship lately is that Robotnik would just come in with some giant machine that's surprisingly easily defeated, and it's like, oh, Robotnik, one day you'll make something that works, like, do-ho-ho, so, like, the fact that he's just torturing Sonic for months is like, oh my god.
Sort of like Bowser, where, like, his competency as a villain, like, wheels around rapidly from like, game to game, where sometimes he's
competency,
just, like...
sure, but he never, like... You know, King Boo once trapped Mario in a painting, which is probably as bad as it's been for Mario. Like, Bowser's never tortured Mario for months. Like, holy shit. Right. Just like, and such a weird decision.
So, I will also say that this is actually also a plot point in Freedom Planet, which is probably one of the best Sonic knockoffs to come out for a while, and it was actually like very, very out of place at the time. It's in the main character's storyline, I believe, where she actually just gets electrocuted for a while, and it's pretty graphic for sprite based, where like she gets burned.
Are we talking like Metal Gear Solid 1 kind of?
Well, like, not quite like that, but she's like literally getting burned and her like fur is falling off, and they resolve it like she stays like that for a while, and then she like goes into a hot spring and she like revitalizes like a RPG character in a hot spring.
I was gonna say, well, that's what hot springs do.
You see like little hearts pop up, like her health meter, and then she just like, or like her fur comes back and like regrows in a second. And it's
an
like,
impressive hot spring.
Mm-hmm.
It's really like dark for what is otherwise like they're trying to do it to set up the
you do realize, like, I do want to say that Freedom Planet starts with someone getting probed in the face.
Well, yeah, I mean it's
like,
the tone of that game is all over the place.
That actually kind of makes me think of because there's always an electroshock sequence in Metal Gear Solid, except for like 4 maybe, but like I'm led to think of the one in Peace Walker, just because Peace Walker is the most video gamey of the Metal Gear Solid games, and the sequence in that game is still done kind of cartoonishly, but it's just like, like, because Peace Walker's the game where like everything is stupid. You know, you can Fulton recovery like soldiers, just whip them out of like an indoor area. It's like, whoop, like you're on a parachute.
Of course it's really stupid. It's the one that crosses over with Monster Hunter. Jesus.
that trash game. No, but for real though, and it also has Vocaloid like bosses.
And it has like actual Hideo Kojima as a character that you could Fulton away.
Oh, that's right, you can. Yeah, you just find him in a truck. Like, is that you? It's just no. Probably my favorite is when you open the back of a truck and you just see some cogs and you're like, metal gear. It's like, oh. And then they have like the obligatory like Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 electroshock sequence, and it's like, whoa, okay, like I guess I should have seen it coming, but still, calm down. Like, this is like the wacky Metal Gear Solid game. So like. Yeah.
Mario Odyssey has a thing like this kind of too, where like you're doing the regular Mario stuff, and then all of a sudden Bowser comes with this like super realistic Monster Hunter style dragon, and just like blasts you out of the air, and you fight it in a boss battle in a tiny like world that only has like 5 or 6 moons on it, when most worlds have like 50 to 60 to 70, and it's just like never mentioned again. It's like, where did this come from? I kind of want
from Dark Souls,
I kind of want more of this, like.
I haven't seen that sequence, but I'm just kind of thinking of the Ridley fight in Metroid Prime 3 when you're like sliding down that tunnel and it's like super close and intimate, and like you're above Ridley, then Ridley's above you, and you're both falling at varying speeds because he's like slowing himself down. It's like the most intense part of the entire game.
It's like, wow, this is a real departure from the usual Metroid Prime like gameplay.
Yeah, like that was amazing.
I can't wait to see more of this, and then it never shows up again in the rest of the game.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of examples of that where, like, you know, some games will do that. This wasn't necessarily really early game, but some games have done that where you'll see something really early, like in the Tomb Raider reboot, not Rise of Tomb Raider, but Tomb Raider, like on PS3 and 360, when like you're gonna need to eat. You're going to have to hunt something, and there's a sequence where you have to shoot a deer for food, and I'm like, I see how this game's going to play, and then that never comes up again. Like, you can still hunt all you want, but there's no hunger mechanic, and like in Oxenfree, the very beginning of Oxenfree, which people will see soon, there's a part where it's like, how are we going to climb this fence? Oh, I know. I'll push this dumpster, but it's a dumpster. It's really big. Could you help me? So two of you get behind it and slide and push it, and there's no pushing puzzles or anything like that ever again. So it's like, all right.
It's like usually that's a marker of like bad game design, where the designers intended for something to be in the game and they just never found a good place.
Like
for
it's strange because Oxenfree is great, but then there's that. It's just like, so how many pushing puzzles will I have? Oh, one. That one. Like, all right, sure, why not?
Or like an Undertale where there was a deep snail racing minigame.
Well, that was a joke.
Everything in Undertale is a joke.
You managed to set your snail on fire.
Yeah, he just catches fire. Like, you pressured him too much. Like, oh no!
You know, the
like he's dead.
The best thing I think is actually to like lose by a little bit. That gets you the best amount of like gets you like the best reward in that mini game.
Oh,
we didn't push that game in a lot of ways, and your viewers were kind enough to point a lot of them out to us.
Yeah. Like how to fight that one boss that was apparently found by like adjusting your computer's clock and stuff like that.
I wish we'd looked that up before we. I mean, it literally was the clue. Like, art club meets at this time. Maybe we.
Yeah, so set the computer to that time. Like, oh well.
Yep. Well, we never did that.
It is what it is.
Right.
I got the pacifist ending. That's as good as you can get. Leave me alone.
Well, you could have gotten the genocide ending. It's harder than the pacifist ending, sort of. Depending.
Yeah, but apparently you also feel like garbage. So like, I'll pass.
Aww.
I don't want enemies trying to, like, be friends with me one last time before I stomp them out like an asshole.
I feel like garbage on my own time. Thank you very much.
The problem with that, I think that if you kill a single monster, it spoils the entire save for an indefinite amount of time.
Except for Jerry, you can kill Jerry in it.
Yeah, apparently you can get away with Jerry, which is hysterical. Nobody likes Jerry.
But yeah, I guess that's
Jerry.
part of the point. Like, you have to be really meticulous to get the best ending. But like once you know the tricks, it's not really that hard. And like the game is, as I recall, the game is much more forgiving than it looks like at first glance. Like when you're on a pacifist run, you always get left with 1 HP, and a lot of bosses will stop attacking you, like for their turn if the next hit will kill you. So it doesn't tell you about it, but it's much more forgiving than it looks like. For example, for Mettaton, the most important thing isn't necessarily just your health; it's like the time of the fight. Right, so
Curious.
That boss fight is fabulous.
I actually, one of my favorite things that I did not get to see in my actual playthrough is I heard that if you have, I think it was like the rose equipped or something, or if you have a rose on you or some flower, if you use
the stick,
the stick, if you throw it at him or like swing it at him, he'll catch in his teeth and make a pose. Nice. It's like yes,
yes. It's just only dialogue, but yeah, you can do that.
It's fantastic.
Yes.
You catch it like a rose and poses with it.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, but in any case, that's probably the time we have for questions and things of that sort.
Oh no! Well, that was a good question. Thanks everyone for your amazing questions, and that's the show for this week. We want to thank all of our fans who contributed questions. Please keep us supplied with awesome topics by submitting questions of your own on the YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs up, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps us promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement keeps the show going. You can also catch us on Thursdays on our sister podcast, Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth look at this week in our lives. Finally, you can friend our usual host as Vice the Bold on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, and some other social media stuff that we don't really talk about anymore.
Twitter and Battle.net.
Twitter, I think is how he says it.
To hell with that.
Aww, well, that's why
that stopped being funny like a month ago.
That's why we keep doing it. Like, as you say, like that's ever stopped us before.
Touche.
And finally, or not finally, nextly, you can find
Nextly,
you can find me as OldManStompy on most major social media and gaming networks, except for Steam, where I prefer not to be found because I'm playing Sons of Triskelion. Mom, don't interrupt me.
And you can find me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, or even selecting games for me to Let's Play, then consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince. How about you, Dracologist?
And you can find me... Oh, yeah.
You?
You can find me on Discord and Skype and on Steam. And that's
just
it,
follow
really.
follow the smoke.
Just follow the smoke and the eyes of
Where there's
agony.
smoke, there's Dracologist.
Generally, the dragons are a little bit smoky.
Yeah,
they would.
It works.
All right, well.
All right, thanks everyone, and we'll see you on Thursday.
Until next time, everyone.
Good evening.